Good morning, all you fabulous people. We are going to do something different this morning. The market's kind of flat and stale at the moment. I think everybody's preparing for Pro Tour next week, I believe it is. Everybody's probably locked in their deck or kind of figured it out. The RTNs were kind of crazy, so I think there's a lot of openness still in the meta. Yes, there's probably two or three decks that are pretty overperforming. So I think you probably bring those, and you probably had all those cards if you were looking for it. And the kind of figuring out is the stuff that would be to target that deck, and how many people. The old mind games of rock paper scissors of the top deck versus what beats the top deck, and then what beats the top deck and those the decks that beat the top deck. So it's whole mind games. I'm guessing most people have all their cards currently and are kind of locking in their last few sideboard slots and kind of stuff. But so it hasn't had much fluctuation. There was a few cards that moved, but nothing really crazy. Only a few bucks. So I wasn't going to cover that. So we're going to do the top 10 undervalued legendaries in Flesh and Blood right now. And we're going to start off with Shriek Razors. I've talked about this card a couple times on the market watches. The 1125 for Rainbow Foil. This card is pretty good in Arachne Fatigue, I believe. You can probably use this as a budget option in Uzuri as well. I just think it requires a little bit more blue heavy usage to get a lot of value out of this. It's a good card. I'm pretty sure anyway the upcoming set will have Assassin in it as Snake, but we shall see. I could be wrong there. Somebody's also pointed out that maybe Snake is Necromancer, but I would struggle to connect those dots. I think Assassin really fits well with the Misfell and Mysteria. Uzuri's from Mysteria. So I think Assassin gets some good support coming forward. So I would expect both Uzuri and Arachne, and probably another new Assassin to get a lot of support. So I would expect Contract and Stealth cards and just all around better Assassin cards, maybe some better sixes as well for Uzuri to switcheroo. But this card seems too cheap. This is an expansion slot card, and even the Majestics go pretty crazy in the expansion slot. I can't imagine a legendary that slowly becomes comes into favor and into playable status, or even meta contender. How that would spike for an expansion slot legendary from Bright Lights. Next, we got Black Tech Whispers, kind of on the same aspect. $30 for this Rainbow Foil. This card has been so expensive for so long. This is the cheapest I've seen it. I think this card is going to be an Assassin staple moving forward. It gives your stuff go again if it hits. It's a reaction. It's a battle worn. You can recall it with silvers, so you could do that with Shriek Razors as well. But this card, I think, is probably the best Assassin equipment. And $30 for this. Azuri's won some road to nationals. I think she won a Battle Harden or something the past weekend or so. And I think Arachne's slowly kind of creeping up, and he's kind of being disrespected a little bit. I do think Arachne has a place in the meta, and he is working towards it. Fatigue is scary. I would also watch out for remembrances if they do become more prevalent. But Black Tech Whispers at $30 I think is too cheap. The Cold Foil is $75. I would buy the Rainbow Foil at this point. Let's go back to Shriek Razors and look at the Cold Foil. $40. Yeah, I still think the Rainbow Foil is probably a better buy. Especially, I think you can get away with budget equipment here. A whole set of Assassin equipment for basically under $60 is pretty good. The only problem with Assassin is most of the expensive cards are in the deck. Command and Conquers, Already Deads, Surgical Extractions, Leave No Witnesses, etc. So the equipment suite's one of the cheaper sets of equipment in the game, but the deck cards are definitely more expensive. So on the similar note, Redback Shroud is our next legendary. I think this card's really good, namely in Blitz. This does allow you to kind of cheat out a attack reaction once really quick. I think it's really good in Arachnite Solitary Confinement. It really helps get the Blood Rot or Spike With or that kind of stuff that gets over the top damage to get you an on hit that you wanted. So it destroys it when you do it. So it's really hard to get more than one use out of it in Blitz. It was kind of used in place of Tunic or Blossom of Spring, so maybe you can get a couple uses out of it if you do get the silver generation for it, but I don't think Arachnite Solitary Confinement's really doing that, and I don't think Blitz games go long enough that you're really getting that much silver. But this could also be another fatigue card if you're recalling a whole bunch of getting a whole bunch of silver. Maybe there's some more silver support moving forward in Mysteria. This card could become pretty good. I think the Rainbow Foil is a decent buy, but the real, I think, undervalue here is the Cold Foil, because there's an EA version that's like $200. Cold Foil at $22 or $23 after shipping is a steal in this game. A Cold Foil Legendary is still pretty darn rare to pull. The only problem with this one is it's outclassed by the extended art. So I think most people that are buying buy the Rainbow Foil or the extended art. I would buy the Cold Foil. I think it's a really good bang for your buck slot. Cold foils are extremely rare in this game. They're 2.5, 3 times rarer than the Rainbow Foil. And I'm sure the extended art's another 1.5 times rarer than the regular Cold Foil, if not more. But this card seems okay. Spirit of Arena. I think this card is probably one of the top 2 or 3 that I think are undervalued. Bolton is winning a lot of road to nationals right now. I think he's really staged very well in the meta. There's a lot of attack action heavy decks that give Bolton go again, as well as he gives it +1, and then he can give it go again off of his ability by banishing a card from Soul. This card I think is an auto run in pretty much everything. The only problem is it's a no block, so I think there is some matchups you slot it out, like Ninja or maybe even KO, but it's really good. It really helps you get your Lumina Ascensions and action points to help smooth out some of your clunky turns. It also makes you go crazy on the turn. Once you get this out, this allows you to basically play Lumina Ascension at instant speed, which gives you an action point if you didn't have Go Again already, or even if you had Go Again already. It can get you extra action points, and extra action points in this game are very, very helpful, especially for Bolton, where you don't have to use your soul to give things Go Again. Keeps your soul full and helps you do things later in the game like Celestial Cataclysms, etc. But this card for $9 is too cheap. This card is a Bolton staple. I think the only problem why it's so cheap is not very many people want to play Bolton for whatever reason. They don't want to charge go down a card. But I do think Bolton is here to stay, and the Cold Foil is $15 or $18 after shipping. But this is too cheap again. This is Dynasty Cold Foil. This is pretty hard to pull. I have this. I foiled out Bolton because he's so cheap. The other kind of weird thing about this card is it is a legendary light warrior action. It's not a Bolton specialization, but it says you may play Lumina Ascension as though it were an instant. But Lumina Ascension is a Bolton specialization, so it's kind of weird why they didn't make this a Bolton specialization. And maybe they're leaving it open for a new version of Bolton, or I don't know why this wouldn't be a Bolton specialization when the card you would play with it is a Bolton specialization, but that just seems weird to me. on the subject of Bolton, another Bright Lights expansion slot card, we got Warband Bona. This card isn't nearly as good as Spirit Arena, in my opinion. It's a block 3 most games, but this card does give you the option to be a little bit more consistent. Destroy this. The next time you attack this turn, you may charge your hero soul. If a yellow card is charged that way, draw a card, go again. So this helps you get through like clunky hands. It really helps. It also lets you do some cool stuff. Like you can do Valiant Thrust, attacking after you did Warband Bona, charge a card, and then it becomes the 7 attack because the charge happened mid-attack. Then you can also give it go again, and drawing a card. It makes it pretty card neutral, but it also activates your hero ability and other stuff. So it's a pretty good card. I think you run it most games over Crown, or I don't know about that with balance in the game now, but before Balance of Justice, I was running this pretty much exclusively in Bolton. It's also, the EA is really good looking, but I think that's not really a value buy at this point. But under $20 for this card, it seems pretty good. Like I said, Bolton's winning a ton of Road to Nationals. I do think he's slotted very well into the meta currently. Imperian Rapture, Dust Till Dawn legendary. I think this card is just busted, especially in both Prisms and Blitz. I do think you run this. There's an argument for Tunic and CC versus this, but this and Blitz pretty much turns on everything you want and makes your Angels and converting Spectral Shield tokens for free after one goes into the soul. It's really good. The Prisms and Blitz, because they still have old Luminaris, are disgusting. I would look out for them come skirmish season. I don't know if they have too many bad matchups anymore. They just kind of steamroll. They're very aggro focused. You can just keep throwing Angels, especially with Footsteps. If they get popped, you just pay 1 resource and get another action point. As well as doing things like Halo of Illumination or playing other auras on like turn 0, turn 1, and just kind of snowballing the auras with the Luminaris game plan and Spectral Shields. It can get out of hand quick, as well as I just think Prism, new Prism and CC is still getting figured out. There's been a couple successes recently. I do think she needs probably a little bit more, maybe a couple cards, and she can become pretty crazy. And I do think Illusionist gets some kind of support in this next set. That's just my feeling on the moon of the new part of the Mistveil lore document kind of thing. But that's just my feeling. Don't hold me to that. It's just my interpretation of that document. This card's also really pretty. The EA is also really good on this card. Diacarapus, another Dust Till Dawn legendary. This card is just so cheap because nobody's really playing Runeblade at the moment. This card does a lot of things very well. It's not too flashy. It also has an EA cold foil, but temper 2 on a chess piece, so it blocks 3 most games, and then Arcane Barrier for anything against Wizard or just mainly Wizard is really strong. It's too cheap for $13. It's just nobody's playing it currently. I think this will be a sideboard option for virtually every Runeblade if they become in the meta. I would expect this one to go up. The cold foil. So the cold foil on this is really weird. The cold foil, it has 2 listings. A cold foil here for $75, but it also has the EA listed. They're the same card on TCG Player. If you order a cold foil, you will get an EA. So watch out for that. Get whatever's cheaper. Vrace of Determination is I think my top 5 most underrated. Currently, it is a $6 generic legendary. There is not very many generic legendaries in this game, and when they do, they typically serve a purpose. This one's kind of just fallen out of grace. It doesn't really have a home at the moment, but that doesn't mean it won't have a home forever. This is a once per turn action. The next prevention effect that prevents attack damage this turn prevents 1 less of that damage. So I think this could be like Prism, Ward, that kind of stuff, targeting there, as well as any other prevention effects that we get here in the future. There is some stuff in heavy hitters on they do blocks and then they prevent additional damage. This card I think just only gets better as more and more prevent effects come into play. Not very often can you get a generic legendary for $6 though. It also has when this defends you may pay 1. If you do it becomes +1 blade break. So once you're done or preventing damage or reducing the damage prevention, you can block with this in a tight spot. I think this is a pretty solid card. I just don't think it has a home at the moment, but I think it will find a home eventually. LSS is pretty intentional on the stuff they print. I think this has something to do with some of the heroes they printed in the past year kind of falling a little short. Excuse me. The cold foil I think is pretty cheap too, $28. I'd get the rainbow foils right now just as a kind of spec buy, but if you really are sold on it, I'd do the cold foil. Eclipse from Monarch, I think for a Fab 1.0 legendary that are about 1 per case, if not rarer, this is a great collection piece for $7. Yes, it's on Chain, who's LL in everything, but it's a good looking card for $7, and it could be your box or case hit for Monarch. The cold foil is about $18. I think that's a steal for a Fab 1.0 legendary. This is just kind of a more collection piece. Maybe they print another Chain here in the future, but I wouldn't count on it. We shall see. Maybe they give him the Prism treatment and give him a new version, but we shall see. Vincent seems to kind of fit that bill, so I think they might be avoiding that, but we shall see here in the future. $7 is not bad just to put in the binder and kind of fill out your Monarch set though. And I think the #1 underrated legendary in the game is Arcanite Skullcap. I think this is the best budget headpiece you can buy in the game. If you're a new player, buy this over Crown of Providence or Balance of Justice. This will always have a place in the meta. I mean, not a place in the meta, but it's relevant regardless. If you have less health than your opponent, Arcanite Skullcap gains +1, so you can block for 3 with it during a game, and Arcane Barrier 3. So if you're going against a wizard, this could also be very good. Or if they ever create a hero that does more arcane damage than Runeblade and less than Wizard, this could find a sweet spot there too. This is another Fab 1.0 legendary. These are hard to pull. They're 1 per case, if not even rarer. And it's a generic headpiece again, or generic legendary. $21 is too cheap for this. I have 2 or 3 of these at this point, and I'm thinking of picking up more because I don't think this card will stay out of the meta forever, and I don't think, even if it does stay out of the meta in the future, this card is going to be pretty rare down the line, like way down the line, a long-term hold, and I think the value will go back up. That's it for the top 10 legendaries that are undervalued in Flesh and Blood currently. I hope you guys all have a fantastic Friday. Thanks for listening. Bye.